You recorded. All right. Welcome everybody to this DoorGrow masterclass. And our topic for today, what we're going to be talking about is how to double your capacity and make more money in your property management business. And we're talking about you personally, your capacity. If some of you are at kind of the next level, you've got a large team, let us know in the comments, and maybe we'll dedicate a little bit of conversation how to double your capacity, which would be a different thing to do, but we're going to talk about one of the easiest ways to double your capacity right now. So, by show of hands, how many, and those of you that don't have your cameras on, you're not as cool as everybody else. I'm just kidding. You can click the emoji thing to raise your hand. It says reactions, I think, at the bottom, and you can like give us a thumbs up.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Um, and okay, cool. And let's make sure everybody's muted here too. All right. And if you need to unmute, feel free. All right. Gala raised his hand. Okay. So, so by show of hands, how many of you have an assistant in your business that is dedicated to supporting you right now? Not team members, not a maintenance coordinator, but their job is to make your life easier. How many of you have that person? Okay. Interesting. Then you are probably in the right place. We're going to talk about this because one of the easiest and quickest ways to double your capacity to what you personally can get done is to get a really good assistant. And so what I would like is, I want this to be interactive. Comment in the chat, and I'm going to tell you how to do this the right way, because a lot of people don't do it because there's a lot of good reasons why not to, but they don't do it a lot of times because they say it's too expensive, or I don't know what I would have them do, or maybe you've tried it and they just end up bothering you all the time, asking you, what do you want me to do? And you're like, I don't know. If I had to tell you what to do all the time, then why do I even have you here? Like, I might as well do it myself. It's faster, right? How do we solve this problem? And how many of you have team members by show of hands? Wow. Okay. So a bunch of you have team members, but don't have an assistant. And so one of the things I want to showcase as well is that the first person, usually any solopreneur doing everything themselves should hire. See, I'm trying not to go off camera here. Should hire would be an assistant. Usually, though, the mistake I see entrepreneurs make in this industry, and just for those that don't know me, who doesn't know me here by show of hands, if you don't know me? Okay, cool. So I'll qualify myself just briefly. So I've talked to thousands of property management business owners. I've seen inside hundreds and hundreds of companies. We have a mastermind where we coach a whole bunch of businesses. We've got, I think, maybe about 200 people, about 80 businesses in the program right now. We've rebranded probably 300 to 400 companies in cleaning them up. Our company kind of is like bar rescue for property managers, so to speak. And we also do website design and some other things and whatever it takes to help our clients grow. And we've cracked the code on growth because of me being able to be a fly on the wall in this industry and see inside of everything that's working, not working. And because I invest a ridiculous amount of money into my own coaches, mentors, and programs that I am a part of, so that I have value to offer to my clients. I've mapped out what I believe is the ultimate path for growth. And I confidently believe I can take any client, if they listen to me and do what we tell them to do, from 0 to 1,000 doors in 3 to 5 years. I don't think that's hard at all. Growth is not hard. What's hard is where everybody gets stuck. And we've helped clients get unstuck at each of the major stages. And I have this all mapped out in a beautiful roadmap that we created called the DoorGrow code. Giselle, do we have a link just to the DoorGrow code? Giselle has all the links. She's awesome. So she's on our team. And Giselle's going to post the link to the DoorGrow code if you want to take a look at that. I might pull it up just to, if it's relevant to the conversation, and share my screen. But the idea is it's not very easy. It's a lot less difficult if you aren't distracted by a lot of stuff that doesn't work, which is very common in any industry. There's a lot of groupthink. There's a lot of stuff that you'll get, at different NARPM conferences or stuff where everybody else is doing stuff. For perspective, I talked to a property manager yesterday, day before, and this lady has no clue about the property management industry. She came from completely outside of it. She came from corporate America. And in a very short time, she's amassed 450 units. She's adding 30 doors a month, and she's doing zero marketing, and it's all coming at her. And she's trying to hide from it because she doesn't want to take on more business, but it just keeps coming to her. And in digging into her business, a large reason for her success, which is, I think, similar to me, and a large reason why DoorGrow has had a lot of success, is I come from outside the industry. I'm not inundated with all the groupthink. And I think that's why she's just doing whatever makes sense and what works. She's not doing what everybody else says to do. So she hasn't done APM leads. She hasn't done like SEO. She hasn't been doing pay-per-click. She hasn't been doing content marketing. She hasn't been wasting time on social media marketing. She hasn't been doing any of this stuff that I see a lot of people try to do to grow their business. And she's focused on providing a really good product, right? And providing really good service and taking care of her clients. And that just feeds her more and more business. So that's, I feel like, the perspective that I bring to the table. Now, I have a brother involved in property management. My dad did it for a while. My wife had a very successful small property management business with like 260 units with between 60 to 80% profit margin. I'm bragging
90.
about you. You got up to 90% profit margin? Okay.
60 was a really bad month.
Okay.
That made me sad.
Between 60 to 90% profit margin.
And
these were C-class properties, and she managed them remotely with only one part-time person, boots on the ground in the area. This was like, what would you call it? Upstate Pennsylvania? North Pennsylvania?
Northeast.
I don't know what you call it. Northeast Pennsylvania.
NEPA.
Yeah. Difficult area. Difficult tenants.
Hard.
And she coaches on this for operations, because what she did is, pretty ridiculous. I've seen a lot of companies, and I was pretty surprised. So I'm like, we should teach clients how you did that. So, so I've been around a lot of property managers, and this is how I've mapped out the DoorGrow code. So, and we've helped lots of clients grow. Several of our clients are here on this call, and they might say good things about me. If they do, I will give you money later. I'm just kidding. So I appreciate it. All right. So I see all of them smiling. So let's get into how to double your capacity. And how many of you right now feel like your time is kind of maxed out time-wise, like what you're doing? And the only way would be you just would have to work even more hours. How many of you are already working a 40-hour work week? By show of hands.
Who's over a 40-hour work week?
Anyone over?
Now?
Yeah. Okay. Right. Okay. So
you're like wishing for a 40-hour work week.
Okay. Yeah. So I see people in the chat. Me. Oh, let me pull the chat up over here so I can see it more easily. Cool. Jennifer's like, me. Okay. Jennifer's like, you can't see me, but I want to make sure you know that this is I'm working really hard. Okay. So let's talk about this. And for those of you that don't have your cameras on, we know you're probably trying to multitask right now, and don't do that. Hi, Jennifer. All right. So don't multitask. Some of my mentors call that half-ass tasking. So like, be with us. All right. Oh, we can't. Jennifer, are you talking to us? We can't hear you. You're muted. She's like, no, don't make me talk too.
No, I was saying it's fine. It's fine. I wasn't multitasking. I just didn't realize my camera slide was still closed. I was trying to get the right size screen and all that. And
I think that's what's happening for Blake right now. Blake's camera's on, but it's all black. Like he's in the dark. I don't know, Blake, are you with us? Okay. So, okay, cool. Well, let's talk about how to do this the right way. How many of you maybe have not gotten an assistant simply because you don't know what you would actually have them do? Maybe you have an idea, but there's kind of that question, like, what would I have them do? Okay. So let's make sure everyone's, oh, here we go. All right. So let's get into this. I'll share my screen. and we'll talk about this. And I'm going to share a couple of frameworks, some things that might be helpful. You may want to take notes. So those of you that have your cameras on, run like crazy and go find a pen, and we'll watch you. All right, here we go. Okay. What should I share first? Should I talk about how we help clients figure out how to get an assistant first, or should I talk about the free fits, or what do you think would be a good place to start?
Let's talk
Say
about
it's a
how
brilliant strategist.
we help clients find assistants
You
after
don't-
we tell them why they actually need an assistant.
So you want me to tell them why they need an assistant
So
first?
let's talk.
or-
Yeah, let's talk about that, because I feel like that's really important. And I fell into this for a while too. I didn't think I needed an assistant, and I was like, I don't know what somebody would do for me. And that was until I had my acquisition.
Yeah.
So at my largest on my own, I was at 74 or 76 units, something like that.
Before you bought another company.
Yes, before
Yeah.
I bought another company. And I was doing that all by myself, part-time,
Yeah.
while working a full-time job, like job. And then when I acquired the company, I knew I was going to need help. So I was going to need an assistant, but I was like, I don't really know what they should do for me. So I ended up just having them do all the things I didn't want to do anymore.
That's a pretty good place to start. That's a pretty good place to
It
start.
was great. So it ended up being really great. So a lot of times people will, and I get slammed on sometimes in the Facebook group. There's no way you did that. That's impossible to do. You can't possibly have run your business like that. I can tell you that it is possible because I did it.
Yeah. Don't
It's
tell Sarah
possible.
something's not possible.
Yeah, it's possible.
She might
And
just go
it's
do it.
realistic because I did it. So it's not like, hey, I think we could maybe. I did. It happened. But I would not have been able to run my business the way that I ran my business without my assistant. So if it was just me, and if I didn't have somebody that I could say, hey, I need you to do this. Hey, I need this done. Hey, we need this done. Hey, if I didn't have somebody I can go delegate to and lean on very heavily, there's no way I would have been able to run my business the way that I did. So her whole job was to support me. And that pretty much meant whatever I need you to do is going to be what you do.
Okay.
So these are the core things. But we all know in property management, sometimes things get weird and we deal with situations that are not our normal day-to-day things. And then that's going to require you to do things you haven't done before, because that's what I need you to do. So without my assistant, there is no chance I would have been able to run the business the way that I did, especially not part-time and especially not remotely.
Yeah. I'll share a quick story related to me. So I was running my business and I was largely focused on doing the sales related stuff in the business. And I hit a limit. Like my revenue and everything was limited by my current capacity. And what I did is I then went and got an assistant, and I found somebody, and I was actually hiring at the time to get a content writer for helping with some of the website content stuff that we did. And I hired two people. One is Adam, who's still on my team, like about a decade later. And another was this assistant named Helen, who was just this awesome assistant. And she had this British accent, but I was hiring for a content writer position. And she was like really charismatic, which is unique for a writer. And she was like really super sharp and intelligent. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I think I have another role for you. And I've always been really good at kind of figuring out people's personality types, figuring out like what their latent skills or talents might be and leveraging them. And I was like, I think you would make a great assistant. And I was not wrong. Like, she was a phenomenal assistant. And plus it just sounded really cool to have somebody with a British accent calling to follow up on and schedule appointments. Like everybody, like that was easy. Like Americans, we love the British accents, right? It was like very different than your reaction to like a Filipino accent, right? And so people will be like, she's like, hello, this is Helen. I'm calling to schedule an appointment for Jason Hall. I'm his assistant or whatever. And I immediately looked high status. And I started to recognize people treated me different. People would show up to calls differently because this assistant had called them. People were nicer to the assistant than when I would follow up, because she's able to use that customer service sort of frame in sales that nobody wants to be mean to the assistant. I still to this day tell my sales team members, if you're always welcome to claim that you are my assistant, that you're assisting me if you're setting up calls or doing anything. And so they still use that, which is true. They assist me. So anyone on my team's allowed to use that frame. And so I'll be like, hey, this is the assistant Jason Hole, and he was wanting to get another call scheduled, or they're allowed to be assistants for each other if they need to, or whatever they need to do. And it allowed me immediately to double my sales capacity almost overnight. I had a lot more appointments booked. I could spend half of my time now could be on calls that was previously spent doing follow-ups. And I was getting those repeat appointments and everything moving forward. And then I started doubling my revenue. And that can happen very quickly. Some of you how many of you do the business development in your business? You are the salesperson in your own business. Cool. So those of you that are that person, you probably are doing a lot of other things in the business. Just getting an assistant could free up that capacity. Or maybe you're struggling with doing all the operational piece. How many of you are your own maintenance coordinator still right now? By show of hands. Anyone? Okay, cool. Got it. All right. There's at least 3 of you, right? Same thing. Maybe you get an assistant that helps with some of the low-hanging fruit or some of those things related to that, and it could double your capacity overnight. So let me go back to share my screen, because I like to draw stuff, and I know all of you like it too when I draw, because I'm such a good artist. Not really, but it makes things easier to understand. So we talked about why, right? Probably because you'd like more money. You'd like that to go up. Let's talk about who would make a good assistant. So you know what an assistant looks like. And we'll talk in general terms, like maybe a good executive assistant. There's different flavors of assistants that you might get in the beginning. You might get somebody that's maybe an operational assistant.
Use that word. That's a
flavor.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's different types.
Sorry, there's different types of assistants.
It sounds weird. Let's not.
Don't make it weird, Sarah. Don't make it weird.
I know there were other people on this call going, oh. I know there were.
Okay. Maybe I just have a cleaner brain than you. I don't know where you're going with this in your head, but there's different types of assistants, different types, everybody. And just like there's different flavors of ice cream. Just kidding. There's different types of assistants. And so it might be an operations assistant that you need. It might be an executive type of assistant. It might be a sales setter type of assistant. Whatever it is. But what I want you to realize is that these are not all the same person. You cannot get somebody to do every different type of personality. Does this make sense? So I'm going to share a framework called the 3 fits. Some of you that are my clients, you've probably seen this several times, but this will be a good reminder here. And who doesn't like Venn diagrams? If anyone raises your hand, I'll be surprised. All right. So we're going to talk about the 3 fits to hiring the ultimate team member, period. And we can use this in context of assistant, but there's culture fit, skill fit, and personality fit. And if you get all 3, then you get the ultimate person that you want to hire, right? So just to go over this briefly or quickly, and if you're interested in this, I have some trainings I've done on other stuff where I go into this deeper, but culture means they share your values, which means you can trust them. If you do not find somebody that is a culture fit, they don't match or share your values, it doesn't matter how much skill they have, how much training they already have, what experience they have, you will never trust them. You'll never want to give things over to them because they will never do it in a way that you would feel safe with. How many of you sometimes say, I'm a control freak? Come on, entrepreneurs, put your hands up, right? I'm a control freak. When we say that, what we're really saying is, I'm not an idiot. I'm not going to just give things over that matter to somebody that is less intelligent than me that I can't trust, right? So skill is related to intelligence. I don't even know if I know how to spell it. How intelligent is that? Did I spell it right?
Mhm.
2 L's? Okay. All right. So that this skill can be taught, right? So, and then personality means that they would love doing this job. If they're not the right personality for this, right? If you want a sales setter and you get a mousy, scared person that really just wants to like not do anything outbound, and they're comfortable receiving a call and whatever, then you're always going to be at odds. There's always going to be friction there, and they're eventually going to burn out and quit, or you're just going to fire them because they don't perform well, right? If you have a team member right now and you're constantly trying to get them to be or do something a certain way and they just never do it, they just won't just do it, that's probably because they're the wrong personality fit for that role. You cannot change personality, not without some serious trauma, which I don't think you should ever do to a team member. You cannot change their personality, and you cannot change their culture. You cannot change really their values. You might be able to move the needle a tiny bit on that, but not really. You have to find culture, and you have to find culture fits, and you have to find personality fits for the role, culture fits for the business. And then you need to find people that have the ability to absorb the skill, at least maybe already have the experience, but they can be taught. And so just to sum this up, if they're a personality fit and a skill fit, but not a culture fit, you will never trust them. If they are a culture and a personality fit, which is amazing to find, right? They can be taught. That's solvable. You can add that third fit if they're intelligent enough, to do that job, that you would trust them that way. And then if they are a culture fit and a skill fit, but they're not a personality fit for that role, they will never, I'm going to say they'll never be great, but they really will never be good. But they'll never be great in this role. Does this make sense? Give me a thumbs up, everybody, if this makes sense. This alone is a massive game changer, just understanding this framework. Some of you have team members right now, you probably have light bulbs going off. You're like, okay, Susie on my team is not that personality fit, or she's not a culture fit, which is why I don't trust her. Or maybe it's like skill, and you're like, I just didn't train that person enough. Or maybe they're just too dumb. You're like, they're just never going to get it. They're not bright enough. And you can tell, right? We can tell if people are intelligent, right? Okay. So this is the 3 fits. So if you understand this framework, then and you want the next ultimate assistant, then you need to know what personality type would be a really good fit for that. That's some of the stuff that we can help you with or coach you on or talk about, if you join our program and stuff like this, because there's several different personality types, but we want to make sure that the job description and the personality type are a match, right? That there's a fit there. And then we have a whole process. We talk about how to get this, and we can talk a little bit about how to find the right person. But let's talk. So in talking about who do we need? Who would be a good fit? What we usually start clients with is we start them first. Well, let's say this is you. I'm going to make you look happy. Maybe you're not really happy, but you get a smiley face. This is you. And what we want to have you usually do first is we have you do a time study. And it looks kind of like a grid of things in your time study. And in this time study, you're going to be tracking what you do like every 15 minutes or so. And we're going to have you figure out which things throughout your day, throughout your week, are your plus signs and your minus signs. And then we categorize things. It's a little bit more complicated than that, but then we're going to figure out, because then it'll be super clear which things really you enjoy and don't enjoy doing. And then we're going to create what we call an RDoc. An RDoc is a document where there's a whole bunch of sections that the titles start with an R, like role, responsibilities, requirements, just like a typical job description. But we add some extra R's that are unique and special to make this work really effectively. And the most important when hiring is the first one, which is resonate. And this is where this section is drafted or written up as copywriting sort of language, sales copy, to find and attract the right personality type for the role, which means you need to know in advance what personality type. So we need to create an RDoc first for you. So we need your RDoc, and then we can take and figure out, all right, what are all of the, on the RDoc, what are all the things that I'm doing currently that I don't like, and where are my plus signs, right? And then you're going to create another RDoc for your ultimate hire. This is going to be based on reality, right? How many of you are wearing multiple hats right now in your business? Because you're a business owner, it's probably all of you, right? So multiple hats. What that tells me is, I guarantee you are the wrong personality fit for several of those hats. It's always true. There's some of those hats that you're wearing right now that you are not the 3 fits for, which means you are causing problems in the business. You are not the ideal person to be doing that job. One of my mentors would say, Jason, if you don't have the business of your dreams yet, it's because you are not yet the person that can run it yet. But it may also be true that it's because you're still holding on to things that you are not the person that should be running that piece, right? I'm not the person to run ops in our business, right? Everyone on the team would agree. Like everyone that Sarah runs our meetings.
I think our clients know that too.
Our clients probably know that
like,
too. It's like, no, DoorGrow would be a disaster without Sarah. Yeah, maybe.
No, you were fine without me for a while.
I was
but you're
okay.
much better now.
This is true. And she's very humble. All right. So, so you're not the right personality fit. So like, I want you to realize this, you are a bad hire for some of the things that you've hired yourself to do right now. So I want you to fire yourself for those roles because you're not the best person at this. And if you find somebody that is a better personality match for that particular role, they will actually be better at it than you. And I know that's mind blowing, especially for those that are in early stage entrepreneurism. You're like a solopreneur, you haven't hired a lot of people, but there are people out there that love to do all of the things that you hate most to do. There's always somebody out there. There's 7 billion people on the planet or whatever. There's always other people that would love to do those things. They're your minus signs. Here, I want to draw this. Like their minus signs over this person. That's their plus signs. They love that stuff. But you're not going to find somebody that loves every minus sign on your plate if you're wearing multiple roles, because multiple roles are probably multiple personalities. This is making sense. So one of the biggest mistakes people make when trying to increase their capacity and get an assistant is they try and hire an assistant to do everything they don't enjoy doing. And that even if it's like sales related, because they're doing sales stuff, and accounting related and maintenance coordination related, and all these, like, we need to figure out these are not all the same personality types, right? And so we need it to be a single personality type. We want it to be a real actual human that could exist, not this hypothetical creature that can do multiple different things and whatever. You know what we call those? I call them entrepreneurs. And if you find people that can do everything and try and clone yourself. So this is the myth I see in hiring an assistant. I call it the clone myth. Maybe cloning will be a thing. Maybe it's already a thing we don't know about it. I don't know. But until that's totally figured out and you can actually clone yourself. The clone myth is that they think I can go find somebody just like me and they will not steal my clients and take my business and go start their own company, even though that's what I would probably do, is start my own business, which I did. Right. So if you go find somebody highly adaptable, can wear lots of hats, can do lots of different things, that's an entrepreneur. And they're not typically going to stick around. And this is where I've seen some BDMs come into businesses or property managers come into some businesses and walk away with hundreds of units and take them from the business because the loyalty was to that particular property manager that managed that portfolio style, whatever. So here's this doesn't work. Here, we use this color, more warning. All right, here's what does work. Here's the actual how to clone yourself. Okay. This is you, and to clone yourself, because you are wearing multiple hats. I'm going to draw, here's a cowboy hat for Nashville, and I don't know what other hats there are. A top hat. There you go. All right. You're wearing all these different hats and probably like 10 different hats, right? Here's what this looks like. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right. Yeah. Hopefully every head has a body. This is what it takes to clone yourself in your business. It takes roughly about 10 people, give or take. It takes about 10 people to actually clone yourself in a business, because you're going to need somebody good with maybe eventually hiring, financials, customer service, and these are all different personality types. In Myers-Briggs, there are 16 different personality types. Okay. And I'm not saying you need every single one of those, but it takes roughly about 10 people to clone yourself. But most of you don't want to give up everything in the business, right? If we gave up everything as an entrepreneur in the business, we would probably just go start another business, because we want some fulfillment and we want to get some things out of the business as well. Like some of you, there are things that you enjoy. If we get rid of everything, then you're going to have a meaningless, purposeless life and you're going to get depressed, right? Entrepreneurs love to entrepreneur. Like we want to be doing some stuff. So you don't need all 10, perhaps, but you do need a decent sized team and a decent group. And the first person any of you should ever hire to get the most immediate leverage is not what the business needs, it's what you need. So when talking about who, we want you to hire what you need. Everybody I see in the industry usually builds an entire team first, and they hire this whole team. And I'll show it this way. This is you. And then here's your business, and they build this whole team around themselves. But what happens is they don't fully trust all their team members. And they then show up like this. They create this painful false version of themselves where they're wearing multiple hats, or they're dabbling in different areas. I shouldn't use stars. Stars are kind of positive. We'll use lightning bolts of pain. All right. So these are all these areas where you are in these roles, and then you go and get other people to fill in the gaps around this. So, and what this means is, I want you to understand, if you are right now not the personality fit for all the roles, and then you're building a team around stuff, and you have an entire team and you still are doing things you don't enjoy, you have built the wrong team by default. That's the only possibility. If you are still wearing hats you don't enjoy, and you're still involved in their roles, and you're frustrated and you're thinking, why won't my team just think for themselves? It's because you are not showing up the right way in the business. You don't have clarity on yourself. And so you are kind of dabbling in all these other areas and involved in all these other areas in the business that you're not the best person to be doing. And then you went and got people to fill in that gap. You've built the wrong team around the wrong person. It's impossible to build the right team around the wrong person. Does this make sense? You are like the sun at the center of your little solar system. And if you're chaotic and messed up, then the whole solar system is going to be chaotic and messed up. And you can tell by looking at your own business. If there's chaos and it's a little messed up, or you're frustrated with your team, or you're annoyed, or you're like, why won't they think for themselves? The good news is it's you. The bad news is it's you. The good news is it's you. And that means you can solve it. And that means, first, what we do with our clients is we get you clarity on your personality type. What you're actually the circle, right? And then we can build the right team around the right person. And this person's way happier. This is where we see a lot of business owners with an entire team. They're in that 200 to 400 unit, maybe 500 unit max sand trap. I call the second sand trap, the team sand trap, and they're miserable, and they have the least profitability they've ever had per unit, probably, because they're involved in a lot of stuff, but they have all these team members that are not very great because they don't match the 3 fits, and they built this team around themselves. And and what I find is, with this team over here in the green, these team members will give you 3 times the output of these miserable team members over here that are working for a miserable boss. Easily 3 times the output. So I just want you, for perspective, this is one of the ways that Sarah was able to, and there's other hacks too, but when you stack these strategies, you're able to have really good profit margin. What's the biggest expense in your business besides taxes and the US government? What else? You're laughing because you all didn't think of that, right? You're like, oh yeah, that's just default. Yeah.
I'm laughing because I was just telling somebody yesterday that I'm not impressed with the ROI that I get on the money that I pay into taxes.
Right. We want a return on our investment. I'm not impressed with the ROI.
Not impressed with what's happening with my dollar.
Okay. That's fair. So it's payroll, right? It's your team, it's your staff. That's the biggest expense. So one of the easiest, and if you have too big of expenses in a business, then you lack what? Profit. And if you lack profit, you can't reinvest back into the business. You can't pull money out of the business and have a great life and have freedom and fulfillment in your day to day. And then the business is working harder and it becomes more of a grind. And the first thing to go is customer service if cash flow isn't healthy in a business. And this is why there's one of the reasons why there's so many shitty property management companies. How many of you know most of the companies in your market suck? Yeah. Everybody tells me this every week. Oh, I'm starting a property management business, or I started because I'm an investor and every other company in my market sucked. Anyone here? Yeah. Okay, right. And all the other ones suck, but not me. But nobody wakes up and says, I want to start a sucky business today, right? That's nobody's intent ever, but it's the default if we try and build a business the wrong way, like this, right? That's what happens. And some of you might have a sucky business and you don't even know it because you don't have the feedback, right? So we want to make you have a great business that you enjoy being in. So we're offloading. So this is why we do a time study. We figure out what you're actually doing connected to reality, because we have massive blind spots related to interruptions, related to stuff going on. And these are all things that an assistant could protect you from or help you with or help offload. Then we create an RDoc for an assistant. We then feed this into the right hiring mechanism. There's a system to doing this properly. We call it DoorGrow hiring. If you want some help with hiring, we can help you with this. And it'll help you avoid easily, like one bad hiring mistake is like a 10 grand minimum mistake, right? Because it's usually going to take you probably about 90 days to figure it out or to onboard a team member, and they might not be the right personality fit. They might not be the right skill fit or intelligence level. They might not be something's going to be off and is most likely. And what do we usually hire for? Just skill. This is usually what most hiring processes are focused on, which is the easiest one to fix. You can't fix the other two. You have to find the other two. And so skill is like not even what we look for a lot of times when we're hiring at DoorGrow. I'm first trying to find culture. And if they're a culture fit and we're looking for the right personality, and we set up our job description so they attract the right personality for the role. So for example, for a good assistant, your job description at the beginning in the resonate section in a really good RDoc, for example, might say, if you're looking for like an executive assistant, detail oriented, make sure things don't fall through the cracks, handle your email, handle your calendar, like my assistant does. I might say, hey, are you super detail oriented? Do you make sure nothing falls through the cracks? Do you love supporting and love the craziness of supporting an entrepreneur? And, do you color coordinate your socks? Whatever, right? So we're going to like focus on the attributes about their personality type in the form of questions to see if they resonate with this. And then end it with something like, if so, you may be my dream assistant. And then you can get into what the role is, responsibilities. The most important section we coach clients on once they're hired is the results section. These are the expected accomplishments, because otherwise, if there's just responsibilities, which is part of the RDoc, they will just do whatever is easiest or most comfortable or whatever. But you are paying not for time, you're paying for outcomes, right? You don't want to just buy as much of their time as possible. Like, just waste all my time. Like, I'll spend all my money on you. You want to buy outcomes. So this is why results need to be really clear in your job description for your existing team members. Okay. The UPS guy is here, and so our dogs need to try to kill him. So sorry for the barking.
Good instincts.
Those people with the lawn.
There's a UPS guy too. Yeah.
Oh, there are multiple issues on the home
I can't
front.
hear myself. Can you like maybe shut the doors? Okay. Oh, now they want to come in here. Okay. How many of you have dogs? All right. So yeah, they're always quiet when you need them to be, right? Okay. So, all right. So we talked about the 3 fits. We talked about, like figuring out who you need. Then we need to figure out the right personality type for that and bundle all of the different minus signs that you have into a single realistic human being to create an RDoc that matches a certain personality type. So your RDoc's not going to be like, hey, do you have the gift of gab and are super extroverted and love to call people and talk all the time? And you're super detail oriented and you nothing ever like, you're not going to describe two very different personality types, like a salesperson versus an operator, right? That's meticulous and doesn't like people to some degree and like is like wants everything to be done a certain way and is super critical of others because they're very critical of themselves secretly, right? Great operator. Okay. So now we talked a little bit about how to get an assistant. As much as I think maybe we can take time to do. And then so what are we looking for? So let's talk about a couple of different types of assistants. I think the one that would give most entrepreneurs the most leverage would be somebody that's more on the operational side or more on the executive assistant type of personality type. These are both an operator and an executive assistant usually are similar personality types with a little key differences, which means they're going to be very detail oriented. You can usually visually tell who they are because they have very upright posture a lot of times. Sarah has very upright posture as she sits here. I don't know if you can tell. They're like, and they're usually meticulous. Like operators I've interviewed, like one guy had a tie and his shirt, and he stood like this, and he was like, "Let me tell you." In his video application that he sent us, he was like, "I'm going to share with you the 3 reasons why I would be the best candidate for this position." Right? This is an operator. Like a salesperson would not like come across that way. The difference between a really good executive assistant and somebody that could maybe run your entire business as an operator usually is intelligence is one factor, but I do want you to get as intelligent of assistant as you can. And the other is drive. What makes really good operators really rare is they're very driven, like entrepreneur type of driven. They're high D on a DISC assessment, but they're high C on a DISC assessment. A really good operator is a DC. A really good assistant might be a DC, but they might have if depending on what type of assistant you need, they might have a little bit more I in a DISC assessment. They're maybe better with people. They're more charismatic. You need them to be reaching out. They're kind of representing you. So my assistant is really charming and Mar, and she reaches out on the phone and like is really good at talking with people, and she can like she'll get things done, and she's can also like have a little bite to her, and if I need something accomplished or somebody to get something taken care of. And so we want to make sure you get the ultimate assistant for you that you would need, and that's going to be different for each of you because you're all different depending on what you're looking for. So I need Mar to be able to reach out to people, clients, and help with event planning and like some of these kind of things that we do, and take care of things. And she does research. She'll figure out hotels and venues and all this stuff, and she gets it all taken care of. And she like is really intelligent and gets technology. So if I'm like, hey, can you figure out how to get my calendar to do this weird, crazy thing? So it shows this, but it's available for people to book, but not these people. And she's like, yeah, I'll figure it all out. And she does. I've had assistants in the past that could not figure out complicated stuff. So then I end up taking it back and doing it. So I want you to find as intelligent of a person as you can. The other, and related to this, I want to point this out because a lot of you might go hire in maybe the Philippines or Mexico, which is okay. My assistant's actually in Mexico, which is okay. However, I want you to be aware that there's 2 types of team members. And a really good assistant is going to be a different type. So there are those that are people as process, I call them. These are people that they're not really thinkers, drivers, decision makers. They're waiting to be told what to do all the time. They're waiting for the checkbox to be drawn for them, and then they will do that thing, which means if you need anything innovating or some thought put into it or whatever, they're not going to do it. They're going to wait till you tell them what to do. This is not a good assistant for you as an entrepreneur. This might be somebody you bring into the business to assist your maintenance coordinator, to take low-hanging fruit off, or to assist other people on the team. You might get some people as process. You create good processes, they just follow them. They're like a robot in the machine. Some of these people are going to lose jobs due to AI in the future, right? These are people that will just do what they're told to do, and they won't, because of their personality. Typically, people's process type of team members will not, they're usually lower wage, and they're not going to do the things that you, they're not going to go do anything without being told to do it, because if they do, if they go and do something crazy and amazing and like build out something or whatever, and they mess up, or you don't like it, who's responsible? They are. And you're like, I didn't ask you to do this. You wasted my money, like spending this time. So they are in this risky situation that they don't want to drive outcomes. They don't want to like kind of create their own universe or do things. They want to be told what to do. So I don't want you to go find people's process. I want you to find people that, I'm going to try and draw a light bulb here. There we go. That think, right? That can be a decision maker, that you can trust that their values match up with yours. There's alignment there. So and they're intelligent enough that if they're making decisions, they will likely do it in a way that fits your values or what you desire, what you want, because they have similar values, right? So for example, a maintenance coordinator, if they don't share your values, and your value is let's do everything at the highest quality possible to prevent future work, and that maintenance coordinator is this seasoned handyman that loves duct tape and super glue, and he's like, well, my goal is to do it as cheap as possible for all of your owners, you will always be in conflict on jobs, right? And neither one's right or wrong, depending on what your goal is, right? Neither one's right or wrong, but there's a value difference, right? They're not a culture fit. So you need somebody that fits the 3 fifths. You need them to be intelligent, and they won't be this person is process. They'll be somebody you can trust to think and make decisions, which takes weight off of you psychologically, freeing you up. Because if you have to do all the thinking for everybody on your team, you are the only engine and you have a whole bunch of cogs. People is process, and cogs are hard to draw. All right. I'm trying here. That's my best approximation. All right. The cogs, and then I guess engines are even harder. I don't know how to draw an engine. I think they have some sort of fan thing on it sometimes. Maybe that's a boat engine. I have no idea. All right. We'll make some circle thingies. Obviously, I'm not a motorhead. All right. So we've got, we need more engines in the business. Your executive assistant should be an engine. Your operator should be an engine. Your maintenance coordinator should be an engine. But you may get some people that are assisting these team members that are more people's process. This is a very important distinction to make. You can call these thinkers, I guess. Is this helpful? Does this make sense? I've made plenty of this mistake. Like I get somebody and they're more of a person's process. And so usually if it's people's process, you have to have all your processes documented. You have to have like checklists and everything. And you can then say, go do just this, do exactly this, and they will do it. And they will sit around and do nothing. And if they have nothing to do, so they will wait until you give them a checklist or a to-do list or something to do, which means you have to build out a ton of processes. And it's impossible for you to build out enough processes to make mediocre team members great. I just want you to be clear on this. I call it the process myth. It's impossible to create enough processes that would make somebody that's not the 3 fits work. Okay. I call that the process myth, but it is possible if you have amazing thinkers on your team or an amazing assistant that's a thinker, you could have 0 processes and they will still make things work well. And I've seen plenty of businesses that are thriving, healthy, and they have no processes. This lady I mentioned with 450 units just hired 2 team members, like recently. And she doesn't have process documentation and stuff like this. And so she's obviously very process oriented mentally, or she wouldn't have gotten to 450 units. But I think it's important to recognize you cannot out-process people, but you can out-people process gaps, if that makes sense. Okay. All right. So we talked about what will they do? Let's talk about that just briefly. What will they do? They will do your biggest minus signs. That's what we want them to do. They will do what you've defined in the RDoc, what you've defined in the job description. They will read that job description and go, oh, that personality type, that's, oh my gosh, that's me. Wow, they just describe me. It's like they're in my head. I'm such a great fit for this. And they will come to you and they'll say that, like they say that kind of thing. Oh my gosh, I read your job description. And it was like, oh my gosh, this is like totally me. And then they'll read the results. I could totally get them these results. They're like confident. Oh, I could help you achieve this stuff. I've done it before. I'm really good at this. I could figure this out. And so we want to make sure we have really good job descriptions. We want to make sure we've done a time study so we know what we actually need. So we're not like the person wandering around the grocery store with no clue what to buy. And we want to be healthy. And like Jerry Seinfeld jokes, like, hey, what are you eating? You look pretty good. Like, what's in your cart? Right? We don't want to be that. Like, and so I see this all the time. People posting in Facebook groups, they're like, hey, what do you have your VA do? Or what do you have your assistant do? I need some ideas. This is the worst strategy for getting an assistant ever, right? You should know what you need so you can go and find the person that would be actually really good at that. All right. Where do you find these people? Okay, great. So let's talk about where, and then if any of you have any other questions related to this, I know Sarah's dealing with the chat. Let's talk about where. So you can use Indeed. You can use LinkedIn. You can use even Facebook. Hey, everybody, I'm looking for a position, somebody to hire, blah, blah, blah. Here's what I'm looking for. Do you know anyone? Where else? Anywhere else? Indeed, LinkedIn, Facebook.
My big ones are Indeed and LinkedIn.
I mean, there's like
that's
places like
where
Upwork.com.
Yeah, you
I've
can
used
use
in the
that.
past. And,
Or you can use, if it's virtual assistant.
and then there's companies.
Plethora.
Yeah. Like,
Yes.
I just did a call with a really cool company called Assistantly. There we go. Tell them that DoorGrow sent you and they told me they give you a discount. And they have assistants in Mexico and the Philippines, which is cool. Generally, people's process, Philippines is a very non-confrontational. A lot of times it's kind of the culture. And then Mexico, I would be more maybe on the thinker side. These are broad generalizations. There's great people everywhere and different people everywhere. But assistantly, for a US-based assistant that's remote, my friend Tim runs this company, Great Assistant. If you go to doorgrow.com/great assistant. I'm not going to spell it all out. You fill that out. I think it connects you to them and they do something cool for you. And I think you get a training. I don't remember, but I set that up a long time ago. And specifically in the property management space, there's Anaquim, which is Mexico based. I don't even know how to spell them.
Just one Anequuim.
I got it close. There you go. There's no X there. Just ignore that.
So confusing.
Here we go.
They're like AX. No.
Okay. There we go. I fixed it. All right.
Anaquim,
There's Anaquim. Yeah. I coached and helped redo their logo. What's the name of the company? The light bulby logo. Hire Smart. They're Filipino based. They have a really great system going for hiring. Hire Smart VAs, and there's several others.
Virtually Incredible.
There's
Rocket Station.
Oh yeah, we did a thing with Rocket Station. Virtually Incredible. There we go. Is Filipino based, and you can actually listen to their voices and listen to them. They're really good at the call center type of stuff as well. And who else did you mention?
Rocket Station.
Rocket Station. They're Filipino based.
So if you're going with a VA, which is perfectly fine as long as they don't need to do anything boots on the ground. Like mine, I couldn't use a VA because she was going to do the things that I didn't want to do, which was all of the stuff that required going to a property and being there.
These are all virtual.
But if you've got a position that can be virtual and you're looking for an assistant, the biggest thing that you're going to need to focus on virtually is what is their cognitive ability, and are they able to reason through things and then logically make decisions? So here we need decision makers, especially as an assistant. I need you to protect me and protect my time and protect my schedule and make things easier for me. And if my whole day is spent telling you what to do and how to do it and why to do it and how to, then I might as well
Might
just
as
do
well
it
do it myself.
myself and I'm paying you for nothing. So here we need to have, and this goes in person too, but especially virtual, because sometimes people are like, oh, I'll just like I'm going to do this as cheap as possible. I'll get somebody for like $2 an hour in like whatever country. You can, you have to make sure though that they can logic their way through things
Yeah.
and think through complex situations and then make a decision instead of just going, hey John, what do you want me to do? Hey Baron, what do you want me to do? Hey, because that's not going to help you.
Yeah. And those decision makers, thinkers, you'll get 3 times the output from them. So it's not really a cost savings to go get somebody that's a third the price. Does this make sense? And it may be even more dramatic than that. I think I'm being conservative here from what I've seen historically. And I've had a lot of both. And I've got team members right now in the Philippines. I've got team members in Mexico. We've got team members in Canada. I've had team members in Bolivia. I mean, pretty much anywhere on the planet you can think of. Russia, like I've hired people for different jobs, for different things. I have a lot of experience in this. But yes, what Sarah says is absolutely true. You want those people that can think and make decisions for you. Okay. So where you can get some local, if you need them to be local, you need an assistant that can go post a notice or like run out to a property or something like that. And that would help you. Then of course you need somebody local. Outside of that, like an operator type of assistant, a sales setter type of assistant, an executive assistant, they all can be virtual. And usually you can get really intelligent, really great people from another country. A lot of people in Mexico, for example, my assistant went to school where? London.
All over London, US and Canada, I
super
think.
smart. Her
Yeah.
father's in bigwig engineer in Mexico, electrical engineer. I don't know. So, but she's really, really intelligent, really sharp. And her English is probably better than mine half the time. And she's really bright. And so a lot of you'll hear that on my podcast interview with Anna Quinn, where they talk about Mexico assistants. A lot of them went to school. They're sent off to school and university in the US or Canada, or maybe even Britain. But they're sent usually to English speaking companies. So their English a lot of times is like really phenomenal and they're very well educated. And depending on the type of assistant you need, it could be even like, I know, there's also Planet Synergy focuses on the synergy. Most of these are just .coms, I'm sure. Planet Synergy is. And these are, they're in India and they're trained accountants. They have accountants on staff, they have bookkeepers, and I've had a client with $2,000 that use them. So, all right. So we're at about time. We covered several different frameworks related to this, how to double and increase your capacity. The reason I wanted to share this, especially for clients, and this is really important, is in our DoorGrow code, as you look at this is a really rough, ugly version of it. In the stage between 100 to 200 doors, there's this really difficult transition. It looks like it's just one piece of transition in the DoorGrow code, but it's actually one of the most difficult because going from 100 to 200 is a double size increase. It's 2x. So we've got like 50, 0 to 50, 50 to 100. But 100 to 200 is a difficult transition because this is really where we're kind of transitioning from solopreneur of sort of doing stuff ourselves. And probably in the earlier stage, we're even more so, but then we're trying to have a team because 200 doors, usually you need a team. Even Sarah had to finally get an assistant, right? Somebody to help. So you need to build some sort of team. And this transition is really hard. This hiring process is really hard. Usually people make tons and tons of mistakes. It's Russian roulette. And eventually after a decade, they finally get a decent team. And then they might be able to break 600 units, right? is what I've seen. And we want to collapse time on this significantly. And so usually if you're in the like 150, and my clients here, 150, somewhere in there, 125, usually I see somewhere in this stage, this transitory sort of transitionary stage, they get stuck. And it's because they need, at this stage, they need an operator to go to the next level, which is an expensive hire typically. You may be able to leverage maybe assistantly to get a operator level person, maybe in Mexico or something. That could be possible. And maybe it'd be significantly cheaper. But typically in the US, it might be like $80K a year or something like that. And that's a difficult jump if you're only making maybe, I don't know what you're making here, maybe on average $100 a door, or maybe 200, but maybe 20K to 40K. And so that might be a difficult chunk of change. This would be monthly. And then you have all the other expenses, right? That might be difficult to bring in an operator because you like, maybe you're getting a maintenance coordinator first and some other things. So you need to transition. And a lot of times clients will get stuck and they can't continue adding doors because they didn't prepare for this in advance by getting an assistant. An assistant is going to help you bridge the gap. They can take you further until you need to get that operator. And if you get a really great assistant, they might be the person that could become an operator if they have that intelligence level and that drive to them. So you might get lucky. You might get somebody that can go to that next level. But most of the time, you're going to then keep that person as assistant and then get somebody that's even higher value, an operator that can help you take things to the next level. And that'll be more expensive. But you need this assistant. And this is where we are hiring based on what you need. The big reason I see businesses get stuck in the 200 to 400 unit range here, and they're miserable, is because they hire based on what the business needs. And this is where you end up in this state where you're not happy. And in this sort of scenario where you've got an entire team around you, but it's the wrong team. And you're stuck and backed into a corner and you can't scale. I never see those businesses break 600 units. And so because you've spent all this time building the business around what the business needs, and you're more and more miserable in it. And that's not the goal of the business. The goal of the business is to give you more freedom and more fulfillment. You're making more money than you've ever made usually at the stage, but it's worse. And adding more doors makes your life worse. So you stop growing. So we need to create a different system. And the way to bridge that from an earlier stage is to start focusing right now on what you need most as a business owner. Go get an assistant. Even if you can't afford an assistant, go get a part-time assistant. Hire somebody for half of the month, or like not half the month, but half the time. Get a part-time assistant, and then take that additional time that you get, those additional 10, 20 hours that you get a week, to go out and create more business and create more money. And this is how you can get out of this difficult transition and break past. So hopefully this is helpful for those of my clients that are at this stage, or those of you that are moving towards this quickly. Make sure you get yourself an assistant so that you don't get stuck where you're mired in all of the minus signs and the day-to-day work and the grind, and you can't figure out, how do I afford to go to the next level? And I can't spend more time doing business development to grow the business because I'm stuck and trapped. And I don't want you to get trapped or stuck. So make sure that you get yourself an assistant, maybe before you get anyone else in the business, because this would immediately double what you're able to accomplish. Cool. And that is our message for today. So thanks for everyone hanging out here in the class. Hopefully this was really helpful.
Can I just add really quick?
Sir, I missed something. What is it?
So the thing that I hear sometimes is like, well, I don't know how I can afford that. Or like, I'm already strapped for cash and I just don't know, like maybe someday I'll do it. But the thing is to keep in mind, sometimes it's a give and take in the business, which is very often, especially when we don't have a huge portfolio under management yet.
Yeah.
So there's always going to be a give and take. So sometimes you need to sacrifice your time in the business. And then sometimes you don't have any more time to sacrifice. You're already maxed out. So if you are going, oh, well, like I want to grow and I want to do more, but I can't possibly do any more than I'm already doing. I am maxed out.
Yeah.
So it can't be me. Then even if you think there's no way I can afford it, you have to. Otherwise, you're going to be stuck exactly where you are forever, or until you give up.
So you may need to tighten the belt, right? You may need to
But
get rid of some additional expenses. You
is
may
it going to
need
be?
to work
Yeah,
weekends. You may need to work nights.
but
Like,
is it going to be painful in the beginning? Yeah, sure. And is it
yeah,
going to be scary? And you're going to go, I don't have any money left to hire somebody. Hire somebody and then take the time that you were doing all of the stuff that they will now be doing.
yeah,
And now magically you have more time, but you have to now
make more
use the
money.
time to make more money.
Mm,
You have to then use that time
yeah.
for income producing activities. So if I can free up, even if it's just 5 hours a week, if I can free up 5 hours a week by hiring somebody, yes, it's going to increase my expenses, but odds are you get paid more than this person will get paid. Hopefully, your time is worth more than like $10 an hour.
Mm,
So if you're hiring somebody for 10 or even $20 an hour, if your time is worth more than that, and you can do things with that time that will bring in money to offset that cost, it is a no-brainer. But people get stuck here because they're like, I don't have any funds left.
got it. Yeah. And to add to that, we had a client come on beginning of last year, Ken Hardman. Those of you that are in the program have probably seen him on the Wednesday calls. Ken went from $0 in 6 months after completing our rapid revamp class. He went from $0 to 105 in 6 months. And he told me he was investing maybe 2 to 3 hours a day towards doing outreach. That's all he had to do. He was just spending 2 to 3 hours a day. But because that's per day. He was doing the strategies we gave him. He wasn't wasting that time. It was very efficient. It was very effective. And he was stacking different growth strategies. So he was able to get to 105 in a very short period of time. He's now, I don't know where he's at now, but he's hired an operator and he's like working on that. Probably bump up to our super system level soon to support that operator. But he was able to get the support that he needed, and because he also had he had a more effective strategy. And so if you don't have an effective strategy for growth, then you're not going to feel safe going and paying for an extra team members and assistants, knowing that with that new free time that you have, you'll probably just waste it or squander it or not use it effectively. Then this is something else that we can help you with at DoorGrow. So, and you can just reach out to us by going to DoorGrow. If you're interested in any of this stuff that we could help you with, we'd love to help you, doorgrow.com, and have a conversation with our team, and we can see if this is a good fit and if we can show you how we can solve your problems and help you scale your business and get to that next level. Because a lot of you have probably been stuck at a similar level for a while. It's pretty typical. And if you really want to go to the next level or change things or have different outcomes in your business, you have to do something different, dramatically different. And what we do at DoorGrow is dramatically different from what the industry typically will tell you to do or you'll try to do. And I think that's it. All right. So hopefully this was helpful for everybody here. Unless anyone else has any other questions, we'll go ahead and wrap up. And until next time, to our mutual growth. And we hope all of you have more success and go get yourself an assistant. All right. Bye, everyone.